If you're a small institution, a small library or a historic house with a staff that's small as well, and you may ask yourself, well, do we really need to monitor our environment because we can't maybe do anything about it? We don't have elaborate systems to control temperature and humidity. There's a wide range of things that you can do with relatively simple measures. You still need to start with the basic facts of what are my temperature and humidity, and how do they relate to outdoor conditions, and what are the things I can do to moderate or mitigate the really problematic scenarios. You can use temperature if you have minimal control over temperature through heating. You can use humidistatic heating to avoid the extremes of high RH. You can use actually the opening and controlling of the windows in some circumstances to avoid the risk profiles. But first you have to know what your risks are. You're always going to need some basis for the actions that you take. When you monitor, you're able to use this analysis that is provided in the IPI tools to get a really good sense of what's right or wrong about the environment. For very small institutions, another suggestion is to contact your local regional preservation center or preservation provider. It might be possible to borrow a PEM2 and discuss and share the data on the web with a field service officer, field service preservation specialist.
My name is Laura Osterhout. I'm the Regional Services Librarian here at the Western New York Library Resources Council. And I work on anything that has to do with regional services, which is really anything that we do, but mostly preservation activities, virtual reference, digitization, training, that type of thing. In 2006, our preservation committee, with the help of our regional archivist, wrote a grant, a discretionary grant for New York State funding for conservation and preservation programs, and their idea was to purchase a few of the PEM units and then loan them out to institutions just as a trial to see how the program worked. So we bought those and we loaned those out to 6 different institutions. We sort of used the reporting structure that IPI had. They let us borrow that, so we wrote up reports for each of those institutions based on the data that we got back. And we sent them to the institutions, and they really liked it so much, and it was very easy to do on our part that we just decided to make it an actual program. A lot of the institutions that have borrowed, and I have a list of them here, they're mostly smaller institutions who don't have a ton of funding. So I think what this program's been able to do for them is to, one, open the librarians' eyes as to how bad their environments can be for their materials, and it has given them a little bit of something they can take to their manager or their director and say, look, we really need to do something about the environment. The thing that we always tell institutions is that just because you borrow it one time doesn't mean you can't borrow it again, that the data that you get 2 years after won't be useful. I mean, ideally you would want to borrow a PEM one time and monitor an area, then make modifications to it to try to improve it, and then monitor the area again and see if you actually accomplished what you set out to do. There's always an option or something you can do to help your collection out, and it doesn't have to be expensive. In a tiny institution, something as, cheap as a humidifier or dehumidifier could have a really positive impact. Something as small as that could really make a difference, so it's important to show.
What you need, if you're a small institution, is you need a simple way to know what that environment is that doesn't take a lot of your time, which is in short supply, and that can be easily made sense of for preservation purposes. By measuring the temperature and humidity with a data logger, you get the environmental facts indoors. By going to the ways that we provide to download National Weather Service data, you get the outdoor data, and then you can really set to work to say, what possibilities do I have?